Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our release 5.2 webinar. My name is Jerome Laban. I'm the CTO of Uno Platform, and I'm joined today with Steve, Martin, and Dominic to show you all about it. And we have a lot of great demos to show today. We also have partners that will be showing their own solution today. And they've been working with Uno Platform. That's pretty amazing. And Dominic is going to be presenting us a cool new demo with Pong Wars. So let's get to it. We have this particular. Sorry, it's moving a bit too fast. Let me show you. So we have this big release. It's made a big splash in the community. This 5.2 release, it's pretty large, and it's added quite a few things, and we're going to show you all about it. But what's the most interesting thing is that people have been talking about it. If you're not on Twitter, look at the reactions that we got. It's quite amazing. Lots of people been commenting on it, and it's all about the single project and developer improvements in productivity and developer experience for 5.2. So if you're not on Twitter, that's just a snip of all that we've seen, and that is amazing. Thank you everyone for sharing all of this. So without going into too much details about all of that, we're going to go take a look at the blog post, and just to have a kind of a guideline about what we're going to be talking during this stream. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to be doing all of this on a Linux machine. This is running on WSL inside of an Ubuntu KDE desktop, and all of my demos are going to be running on Linux directly. So that's going to be interesting to see. If you're a Linux fan, that's probably going to interest you. And we're going to show a few other things on other platforms. We got some surprises for you all along. So 5.2 is all about the single project, and everything that comes along with it. With Skia renderers that we have included in that single project. We also have multi-window that Martin's going to show a little bit more, and .NET 9 preview. But the important part there is we wanted to improve the experience for developers. And previously we had a lot of projects that was interesting for a while, but we wanted to streamline all of this and have just a single project for everyone to maintain, have simpler project files, and have simpler Linux support, simpler everything pretty much. And what we've done is pretty much take everything we had and just cram it into one project, and we're going to be showing you all of that along the different demos during this webinar. So visually, it looks like this. We had a lot of projects before, and now we have one project with a simple set of features in there. Kind of detailed with that. Same thing for the project files inside. Lots of details, lots of references, lots of things to know about, lots of possible paper cuts that would be difficult for everyone to work with. We got 2 new target frameworks, and I'm going to detail that as well. Pretty interesting feat of technology that we've worked on to be able to bring you that single project. We've also worked on getting your build times faster, so that you can get faster to your deployment of your application. So some of that is specifically by having one project, but also some pieces that are coming from Visual Studio. So some modifications that we made there. Just as a reminder, we're supporting cross-platform code, but with this new release, because we've added a few different pieces, we're adding a bit more so that you're able to do cross-platform development and code sharing between specifically Wasm and Skia, and Steve is going to show all about it. You can do the same as always with XAML. We also are introducing a new way to do package references, way easier than before. Basically, adding a feature is just adding a few lines into your file. We're going to detail all that very soon. Versioning goes the same. We're introduced in Uno 5.1 and Uno SDK. This is something that I'm going to show you right after into the new project. This is very new, very useful, makes for a single project work a lot better. We got all sorts of debugging features that we've integrated into Visual Studio that Steve is going to show you. And a new set of renderers for macOS, Linux, and Windows. So that makes it everything in one target. Martin is going to show that. And a new text box that includes all Skia, all sort of cool features that we added there from one of our team members. We got multi-window support. Very cool demo, very visually on here, but Martin's going to show you all of that directly from his own machine. And please ask questions, all along. If you're on the stream, I can see that there's already a lot of comments coming up. That's going to be fun. And what else? We've improved our getting started wizard. I'm going to be using it in a few minutes with the idea that we can change. We can select templates and use that directly from the web. So if you're on Linux, that's one of the interesting portions for this. We got the .NET 9 support, and of course our community support. All those people that have been contributing new features to Uno platform. Thank you everyone for your contributions. Great. Okay, so let's start. So when we want to create a new app, the first thing that you want to do is go to, if you're on Linux, if you're on Windows, you can install the Uno platform extension. But if you're on Linux, you're going to go and type new.platform.uno, and you're going to get to our new, our 5.1 new wizard that allows us to create projects. So if I say, for instance, my app 2, for instance, because I have already an app 1, so don't want that to conflict. Click start, and then you can select everything up there. So for instance, you can select the .NET 9 preview. You can go to your platforms and select a various set of platforms. What I'm going to do here is, because I'm on Mac, I'm just going to be selecting some of the targets that are not particularly useful on Mac. But if you're on a Windows or other targets, you can select everything. It's going to be easier for me for the demo right now. Afterwards, you can select other things with markup, themes, extensions, and things like that. And I'm not going to go into those details because other demos are going to explain all of that. Once you're done, you just click the Create button. You're going to have a command line you can copy over to your terminal. But right before, you want to make sure that your setup is properly installed. Your setup is working properly. And one way to do it is to use UnoCheck that you can install and run. And then UnoCheck will validate that you have OpenJDK if you want to do Android, because Android is supported on Linux. It will do the .NET checkups. It will make sure that the templates are installed properly so that the command that's on the side is working properly. And then making sure that we have all the workloads that are needed here. So very important. If you're on Linux, you can do Android development. I'm going to show you that right after. So once you're done, you can basically paste the command that was generated from the .NET New here, from the wizard here, and then it will just create the application right away. So I have VS Code installed on my machine. And what I'm going to do is just start the app like this. I do have already the extension installed, but if you don't have the extension installed, just search for Uno Platform, and you're going to get to that extension here. Just click install if it's not installed already. And then once you're done, you're going to get, for instance, that new icon that we have provided here, all sorts of logging that will tell you what's happening, and you can follow everything that goes through. So what does an application look like when it's created by default? You have so the solution is created like this. You get a solution file that's at the top, and let me show you actually in the Solution Explorer, because we're supporting C# Dev Kit, and that looks like pretty much if you're used to Visual Studio on Windows, you may be familiar with that view. So you have the solution where you can view the solution here. Not super useful in that context, but you can actually go take a look at your project file. So if you click on the project file, You're going to see that new project file. You can see all the solution items. So pretty much everything that looks like what you would get from Visual Studio. Now, if we take a look at the project file will look like this. We have, it's a pretty small file. We got a list of target frameworks that are available here at the top. We can know that it's an Uno SDK project. So the Uno SDK is actually quite interesting. It's something that is packaged as a NuGet package that comes in like any other NuGet package that is versioned using the global JSON file here. You can see that I'm using 5.2.108. And it will basically allow to hide all the complexity that comes in with developing for cross-platform application. So in that context, all that was there before is completely gone, and you pretty much have to just specify a few things in that file, and then you're going to be ready to go. So you can specify your target frameworks, and we've added 2 new target frameworks. So if you're not familiar with what a target framework is, it's pretty much something that allows to specify how .NET will build something for our target platform. So we're supporting iOS, Android, Mac Catalyst. We're supporting Windows, of course, if we want to do WinApp SDK. And then we're supporting 2 new target frameworks, one that is called the Dash Desktop, and the one that is called Dash Browser Wasm. Those are completely new to Uno platform. They're only supported by the fact that we have the Uno SDK specified here at the top. And they're allowing 2 things. The first one is for desktop, which pretty much brings all together all the Skia renderers that we were having before, like GTK and WBF. They're all bundled in. GTK is not there anymore. It makes for something that's way leaner. And when you're running on Linux using this particular target framework that I'm going to show you right after, it uses X11 directly. So we've worked to remove all the dependencies that make GTK very large, which we were not using that much. It was there as a way for us to move forward, but now it was time for us to just make everything leaner, and that's what we're having. So when you're using that target, it allows you to run on all targets, so Windows, Linux, and Mac, without any difference with how you built when it was not the case before. The second one is the Net 8 Browser Wasm, and that one allows us to merge our WebAssembly targets directly into the main project without having to deal with all the intricacies of publishing applications. And currently, when you're making a Blazor application, for instance, which also supports WebAssembly, it has to be in its own target framework, in its own project, my apologies. And now we've merged all of that, and with Dan Siegel, we've worked to remove all of that complexity of having having the web separated from the rest and merge it in a single project, and that's where Browser Wasm is imported. So it's a lot of technical work that needed to be included for creating those 2 target frameworks, but all for the benefits of making sure that you don't have to do anything when you want to deploy an application that runs on desktop or Browser Wasm. I see a question on Wayland. That's the last one that I saw because I'm just watching the chat. Wayland is on our roadmap. It's not there yet. For now, if you're running on X11, you're going to be on X11 and Wayland, you're going to be running through the compat layer of X11. But that's something that we're definitely interested in working on. So next, you're going to get in that project the output type, the fact that it's a single project. So this is what defines the fact that you're running on a single project. You can set your application name. This is going to be reused across all targets. And then we have the Uno features. And Uno features is actually quite interesting. It's something that if you've done Uno platform before, you may have noticed that there were a lot of NuGet packages. And it's because we have a lot of features to provide to the community and to our users. But the problem is that with many packages comes a lot of complexity. And what we're doing here with the Uno SDK is provide something that is called implicit packages. So you will notice that here in the project, there's no Uno UI, there's no bootstrapper. If you're familiar with it, there's no theming or anything like that is provided. Though, if you take a look at the dependencies, you're going to see that in the packages, those packages are there. They're still available, and they're part of the application being compiled, but you don't have to manage them explicitly. So for instance, if you include MVUX in here, you're going to get those two packages coming up with the application, but they're part of a whole of extensions. And you don't need to manage the version. So you pretty much have to specify one version at one location. And let me show you where that is. It's in directory build props. You can set the Uno version for the Uno extensions version here, and it will automatically select the versions for all the extensions there. You don't have to figure out which one to upgrade or anything. That's the cool part about managing packages this way. So you can add features. We have a list of features available here. If you can take a look at that link. Of course, I created a recommended template, but if you create a new app without any of the features, you're going to get this list pretty much empty, and you can add features as you go. So it's a very nice feature. We're pretty proud of the fact that it's removing all the complexity of managing NuGet packages. That was a lot of friction and paper cuts for everyone, including us, to be fair. So now that we have a single project, it works really well. So next in the platform, you're going to find the platforms folder, which contains all the targets that you have selected for your template. In here, you have Android, desktop, and WebAssembly, but you can also have iOS, Windows, and Mac Catalyst. And it pretty much contains the platform-specific files that you're used to, like, for instance, the linker configuration for WebAssembly or the program files for getting there. I'm not going to go into desktop. Martin's going to show that later. And yeah, so all the platforms are going to be placed in here. And if you want to do platform-specific code, it's going to get included automatically when you place files in there. So if you're accustomed to Android, you're going to find that there's the native resources files that are available in that folder. Everything that's in that specific folder is going to be specific to Net 8 Android. Same goes for desktop, WebAssembly, and the other platforms that are not present in this particular solution. Now for the rest, it's a generic application that I've created. So you're going to find an extension-based application with models and a navigator, and you're going to find in here as well, MVUX, and we're going to have a bit of explanation that's going to come up afterwards. I'm not going to go into that details. Now, what I want to do is to show you what we can do when we're on Linux to start an application. So the first one that I'm going to try to show you, that I will show you, is the desktop support. So to do that, I will ensure that I'm selecting the startup project here. And you can see at the bottom that I do have selected Net 8 Android and the emulator. I'm not going to start with this right now. I'm going to go for the desktop target. And in the debugger, I'm going to be selecting the Uno platform desktop debug. And what that will do is that it will compile the application and allow me to start directly. So the first, I want to show you that we have all the support that we need in terms of navigating for an application. So debugging is available in Visual Studio when it's pretty much standard. That feature is provided by a mix of Uno platform support as well as the C# dev kit. But there's a specific feature that we are adding as part of Uno platform that is specific to Uno platform, and it's hot reload. So I'm going to show you that afterwards. So I put a breakpoint here, and then if I just enter something here, I can hit my breakpoint, and then you're going to see everything that you're accustomed to with regards to developing an application using .NET, and debug away pretty much. That's the very interesting thing with regard to debugging. Next, what I'm going to show you is the ability to do hot reload. And when we're talking about hot reload in that context, we're talking about a very specific hot reload. This is a hot reload from Uno platform. This is not something that is provided by C# dev kit, at least not yet. And it's very important for us to be able to do all sorts of hot reload things, because in terms of having a good user experience and developer loop that goes faster, it's always good to see. So we have the hot reload content here. So if you want to troubleshoot all that, you can go to hot reload, and then you can go ahead and open, let's say, the main page, for instance. So let's say, for instance, I don't like the background of that portion. I'm going to go here and use the IntelliSense that is provided by Uno platform. We have a XAML language service that allows to do this. And if I change, for instance, the color here, I'm going to have a hot reload that happens. We can see here that some updates have been found. And the first part, there's a bit of compilation that happens after 2 seconds. But if I want to say, for the subsequent updates, if I go to, let's say, font size, for instance, because that font size is probably not good enough. If I say I want to see something quite big, 35, for instance, then I change my UI and it applies immediately. So one of the other things that happens when you're doing hot reload, and that's particularly important, is that the state is kept. So if I type something here and I go to the second page, I get my context here. But if I go back, some of the hot reload that are out there are not doing it not doing it properly, and we're doing it. If you go to second page because I say I want to write this way, you can see that the context has changed, but the state is kept. That's quite important. And the navigation works as well, continues to work. Anything that you have in the background and the code behind is still applied. The view models and everything are kept alive, and that's particularly important with regards to going back and forth with your application. Now, that was for running directly using X11, so on a Windows machine, on a Linux machine. Now I want to go to a browser WebAssembly. So same thing. I'm going to be starting my application using this. So this is going to be compiling my application using the .NET tooling as well as the support for WebAssembly from Uno platform. Oh, I forgot to click the debugger here. So my application is going to build. It's going to create a small website that runs locally. Then it's going to start a web server, which is going to be served for a Chrome browser that is installed on the machine. So there it is. This is my application here. And same thing, you can see that it's yellow, of course. And if the yellow was not great, I want to see, let's say, something that is green, for instance. Green is nice. So we let the hot reload apply for a second. Well, maybe green is not super nice because we can't see anything. So I'm going to roll it back and go back to the yellow. So same thing. You can see that the hot reload happened. It's modifying the C# that's behind. And the same way I can navigate to pages and have my application go away. So and the state is kept. So there you go. That's the same thing, but running on WebAssembly. So now, and that's one of the last demo that I'm going to make. The important thing here is to note is if you're doing some Android development, Android is supported on Linux. And that's something that's not particularly well advertised by Microsoft. It looks like, I don't know, they're not talking about it that much, but it is supported. And you can go ahead and select the browser, the Android target here, and then go to Uno Platform Mobile, and then do the same thing, pretty much that we were doing before, and go to, let's say, place a breakpoint, for instance. And this is something that we're providing as part of the Uno Platform extension to do Android development. So this part takes a bit more time because it's creating all the APKs and building the application. But it's quite important that we're able to do Android development. So if you don't want to do WinApp SDK specifically, that's fine. You don't have to, but you can create your app all the way down because Uno is all about creating cross-platform applications. You can develop on Linux and have your CI build for Windows, for instance, if you really want to, if you want to go to your other platforms. So there we go. It's building a little bit. What else did we have in there? So know that when we're talking about platforms, there's something that we added specifically where you can use a specific suffix for your file. So let's say I want to do a program.ios.cs, place that file at the top here and say that that file would be compiled only for iOS. So that's the kind of feature that we're getting to when we're building applications, and that's is provided by the single project support from Uno platform and the Uno SDK. So I got my main page, and if I go to my second page, oh, I can't type in there. The keyboard is not there. So if I click on the second page, I should be hitting my breakpoint. And same as the other platforms, I'm not sure exactly why it's doing this. For the other platform, I can debug like any other targets, and it's super, super nice to be able to do that. As a reminder, my environment, super interesting. If you're interested, maybe we're going to do a small demo out of it. So I'm running on WSL. So it's a Windows machine at the back. It's running on WSL that has a container that runs the R desktop container that runs KDE, and I'm connecting to that KDE using remote desktop. And it's using nested virtualization to be able to run the Android emulator inside of the container, and it's running pretty well. Aside from that, that pretty message that shows up here, probably because of my my breakpoint here. So that's it for the demos on Linux. I hope you enjoyed it and you're going to try it. It's pretty nice to be able to do all of this directly on Linux. It changes quite a bit the dynamic here, and all of the recent improvements in the support for Visual Studio and C# Dev Kit are making the development quite smooth on those targets. So now I'm going to be bringing back on stage Steve, who's going to be showing us all about the same things, but with Visual Studio on Windows.
That's right. All right. So thank you, Jerome. All right. So hello. Yeah. So what I want to basically cover is some of the same stuff that Jerome looked at, but instead we're going to be on Windows, and we're going to be on some different platforms, and we're going to be using Visual Studio. So we can go ahead and get started just in our creating a new project dialogues within Visual Studio. Let's go ahead and get something built quickly. So we have the Uno platform app from the Visual Studio extension that gives us the app templates. We'll call it something interesting like Uno app 24. And we will go ahead and get the wizard up and running in a second here while this loads. Oh, it opened on a different page. There it is. And there we go. So there's that same wizard that Jerome was just using before in the new.platform.uno website. And so since the wizard itself is built using Uno, it's the exact same code, the exact same application that was running in the browser is now running within the Visual Studio sort of environment to get your application up and running. So here we're going to start with Net 8. We'll stay with Net 8, but you do have support for the .NET 9 target previews. We'll switch over to the blank preset because I want to choose some things myself. Jerome mentioned this before, so yeah, we'll stay with all the normal platforms that we had for presentation. So for presentation, we have some options here for our wizard. So basically, if you want to get up and running quickly with a presentation framework, we do have the option to have the Microsoft Community Toolkit MVVM sort of bootstrapped into your application, ready to go. I'm also going to, or the other option is MVUX, which is something that's offered by us, by our team, as part of the Uno extensions, which we'll get into in a second. So MVUX is a different type of design framework, presentation framework design pattern. And so I will jump over. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but definitely go check out the docs if you would like. But I will just put this little up as I give a quick 1-second blurb about it. But basically, MVUX stands for Model View Update Extended, and it's an implementation of the MVU, of Model View Update Design pattern that encourages a flow of immutable data, so a stream of data in a single direction. And so what's differentiating it between MVU in general, the implementation, is that it's designed from the ground up for support for data binding, which data binding if you're building apps with Uno and coming from Windows or doing anything with these UI APIs, data binding is pretty important. So basically, the last thing I'll say is the only thing you really have to know at this point is the MVUX magic really creates this generated bindable version of your model, which is going to be the glue between your UI and your model that your view model that you've created in your application. And so everything is exposed as these feeds, which are that flow of immutable data, right? And so we will jump back to our application. So we're going to choose MVUX to build our application. And the other exciting thing is we're going to choose C# as the markup language for our UI, right? So you have the option, of course, to build everything with XAML as you're used to, but you do have this option now to use C# to define your UI in a cross-platform way. And so that's what I'm going to do for the wizard in general, in terms of selections here. But you do have some more stuff in the wizard that's really nice. So I'm going to stick with the Fluent design system. So my application across all platforms will look, the Fluent with the Fluent design methods, design theme. But I could choose to style it fully as material as well if I want, and bootstrap that and get that up and running. And I mentioned extensions before. So extensions, if you haven't looked at them before, are basically these battle-tested modular chunks of functionality that you can pick and choose and plug and play which ones you'd like in your application, and plug them in and get up and running started quickly with things like MVUX is one of them, navigation is one of them as well, dependency injection, a whole bunch of other ones, as well as features. So if you have certain features you'd like to toggle on and off for your application, if you want to embed MAUI controls, if you want to use the Uno toolkit, if you want to do things like this, this is all available for you. So let's get started. There are more options down here, authentication, whether you want to have testing projects, but let's get started with our application. So I selected C# markup and I selected MVUX. I hope I did. I can't remember. So here is our application. And if we were to look, I'll resize this for now, but I'll resize it back because I want to show the app side by side. So like Jerome had mentioned, this is basically the structure of your new Uno application, our beautifully named Uno app 24. So we do have that single project, and we do now have those platform-specific folders if we need an entry point to any platform-specific logic or anything we'd like to do. And you'll notice that our main page is not a main page.xaml, it is a main page.cs. And if we look quickly, I'll just do a little view of exactly what Jerome had shown before, so I won't spend too much time, but you'll see we have all the target frameworks that I had selected since I didn't deselect anything. And you'll see that Net 8 desktop and Net 8 browser WASM target framework additions. And you'll notice here that since I selected C# markup and MVUX within the wizard, you'll notice that there are no NuGet package references in this file. We just have those two Uno features enabled within our project. And so everything is bootstrapped for me. All the dependencies are there. Everything's worked out. And if I ever needed to change those features, change those versions, I can go, like it was seen before, into my directory build props and mess around with these version numbers and go as I must. So dependency management very easy now. So here is what the UI looks like, and here this is using C# markup, like I had mentioned before, and it should look pretty familiar to you, even if you're coming from XAML, because it is using it's built off the same exact object model, using the same exact UI APIs. Nothing really that different in terms of naming, in terms of anything, right? The flow of it should look pretty similar. You're just using these sort of extension methods as properties instead of just setting properties in the XAML, right? So on the stack panel, we're setting the vertical alignment to center. We're setting the horizontal alignment to center. We're setting the text blocks text property to this, so appreciate straightforward stuff. So we will now jump over. So we have nice launch profiles available for you out of the gate. Basically, so we can choose from WebAssembly, we can choose WinApp SDK, and we can choose different variations or different flavors of our Net 8 desktop target, right? So, oops, I'm going to switch over to the desktop target, and I'll make some room over here. Hey, I said desktop. Okay, why are you doing this? I would like to go to desktop, please. Okay. It's not listening to me.
Try another target first, Steve.
Yeah, sure. So we will choose. Oh, sorry, maybe not this one. We will choose WebAssembly. It's not working for me right now. Interesting.
Let's try and loading the project, maybe that will help.
Yeah. Unloading. Reload. WebAssembly.
Nope. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So that's one of the things that we've been working with Microsoft in terms of supporting the Uno SDKs. The Uno extension is manipulating Visual Studio in order to make sure that everything is working as expected. And that is one of the things that we have not seen. So definitely expect an update in Uno very soon. And we're going to try to get that fixed. And we're basically modifying the appropriate targets. So, for instance, you can see on the side the list of desktop targets. And what we need to have is to have the list of target frameworks that match the profiles that are listed on the debug list at the top. So making back and forth in Visual Studio in order to do that.
Yeah. So we are good. I just had to restart Visual Studio. I don't know. All right, so we will run this application now, and I'll start it without debugging. We'll get it running, up and running. I will open in a different window. 1 second. I have lost my mouse. There you go. It is not here. That's the emulator. And we will open up the main page. And there you go. Oh, it's on a different window again. Here we go. So this is the application running on our Net 8 desktop target framework from Visual Studio. And so basically this is our application being rendered now using Skia only as it's rendering and running on Windows desktop within the WPF shell, basically, as it's how it's being wrapped around. So you'll see the Chrome around here looks like a normal Windows application because it is. And we're off to the races. So we can do nice things like we can change like what was mentioned from Jerome before. So we can have nice hot reload of things going on here. We can change the horizontal alignment, and we can get this back here. It's ugly, so I'm going to fix it. What we can do next basically is oh yes, I did show that. So basically, what we want to do as a little bit of a difference is we want to run over to here, and we're going to work through a little bit of a tutorial or one of the samples that we have. So if you were to go to platform.uno/docs, on the right here, oh geez, sorry for all the zooming. Okay, on the right here, you'll see a samples and tutorials section. And we have a bunch of workshops, tutorials, and sample applications that you can take a look at in order to get ready on figuring out how to do certain things, how to build applications, how to get up and running. Some very simple and some more complex applications that get into more nitty-gritty details, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to create this counter application, and you'll see that it has all these options. So you can build this application with XAML, you can build it with C#, you can build it with using MVVM or MVUX as your presentation framework, or a mix of any of those, right? And so since I chose C# markup and MVUX, we're going to go ahead and do that. And so I have a bit of the code ready to go. So the first thing that we're going to want to do, I'll put this app back up. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to we're going to need to add a new class to our project. And this app, remember, it's still running on the side here, so we're going to see some cool stuff. So I will add my model. So basically what's going to be my view model. So I'll add my main model.cs. And over here, I will grab some code just so you don't have to watch me struggle and type on my Visual Studio. And I'll paste it in here, and I'll explain a little bit what's going on here, right? So we have this partial record. So this is our whole view model. First of all, it's 2 lines of code. So it is this this record called main model. And remember, we're using MVUX here, so we're going to be using some stuff that I'll explain. And we have this one property that we're exposing on the model called countable, and we have one method that we're exposing on the model called increment command. You notice it's not actually an I command, right? This is just a method that's returning a value task that's doing some logic. And we have this record, so this small class called countable that just basically is holding is a mutable object that is holding the current step, so the amount that we want to increase our counter, and the current count that we're going to display in the application. And the increment method is just incrementing the count based on the step. And that's about it. So the model itself is, excuse me, there you go. The model itself is actually exposing this countable object as a I state, so as a state. So what I mentioned before is we have those immutable streams of unidirectional data that's going to be used by your UI to be updated into React, right, in that observable way. So those are what I had mentioned in that diagram as those feeds, so those feeds of data. So a state is basically a stateful version of that feed. So basically that stream of data that you can actually open up and push updates to that stream and react accordingly to those updates, right? That's all you really have to know for now. Definitely go check out the documentation for MVUX. I'll point you again later for all the explanations of the architecture, feeds, and states, and all that fun stuff. So the next step, now that we have our view model set up, is we will update our UI a little bit. So I will take my page code and I'll jump into explaining what it is doing in a second after I paste it. But first thing we'll do is we will save this as well. And you'll see that our UI actually, through hot reload, updated. And not only did the UI update with the new C# markup that I had pasted here, the actual code itself, the bindings, the code behind the view model that we added, all got added as well to the project and works, right? So not only did the UI update, it actually updated and bound itself to the data that we had added to the application all through this nice, these nice hot reload features, right? So I want to explain a little bit about the UI. So you saw some of the C# UI before, but again, there's 2 things that I want to point out here. So it should look pretty similar to what you're used to, because again, it's based off the same object model that your XAML is based off of, right? So you have your margins, your vertical and your horizontal and your width and your heights and all the properties that you're used to on all your types. You'll notice here that the data context for the page is a bindable main model. And so that is what I was mentioning before, where the magic sauce of MVUX really comes into play, is that generated glue that basically gets put between your UI and the model that you defined, right? So I defined main model, MVUX created bindable main model, and that's what we actually talk to and exposes all your states and your feeds and all your methods as things that you can bind to and react to their changes. And speaking of bindings, we can take a look at something like the step size, right, that you see here. So this text box that has 2, that data binding syntax is coming here. So we're setting the text on the text box, and we're saying it is a binding. And thanks to what I had mentioned before, where we had that bindable, we had defined explicitly that our data context is the bindable main model. We have strongly typed data binding available to you from your UI code, right? So on my view model, I have that countable property that I had exposed, and we're binding to the step property that was within the countable record. And so that's how we do this nice updating of this UI here, right? So what I want to show next is a little bit of some cool stuff that Jerome had mentioned within the within the blog post, which is some of the platform conditional stuff that has been changed or made even better, right? So we've always had platform conditional logic available to you. So whether it's in XAML or your C#, no matter what level of C# that you're at, you have always been able to use conditionals within either paradigm to say, hey, I want a certain part of this code to run only for iOS, only for Android, only for Windows, anything like that, right? But now, thanks to that net browser WASM and that net desktop, those new target frameworks, we're able to differentiate between something like WebAssembly or something like platforms that are using Skia as the rendering backend, right? So say I wanted to change the content of this button right here, that's increment counter by step size. So I want to change that based on the current platform that I'm actually running, right? And we'll get into running on some new platforms after this. So I'm going to take this chunk of code, I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to extend this a little. And so basically here is our, here is our platform conditional code that we now have available to us. So if WebAssembly, I want this content of this button to be this. If it has Uno Skia, so if it's using Skia as its rendering backend here, we're going to place this. And on everything else, we're just going to show everything else because I don't want to do every platform. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if we were to then save this code, you'll see that it now says on Skia because we're within Windows, within WPF, within the Skia rendering. So if I were to close this, we could then change over to something like the browser. And you'll see everything gets reloaded. So the project is reloaded, and you'll notice now that I set my target framework to browser WASM, we have a little web project here as our single project. And I can run this. And this should open up. It might open up somewhere weird on my screens. And you'll notice, can I show you? No, I can't show you what it's building. But we can run it on. So what I had just done there was, instead of using those launch profiles, you can go in and select your framework and select your specific target framework, whether you want to be Android, iOS, Mac Catalyst, or any of that. Oh, okay, so it's here. So, and you'll notice, you're too big right now. You'll notice that we now have this application running natively in the browser, and it has the on WebAssembly, and it's working just as it would on anything else, right? And it has this on WebAssembly as the content of the button, thanks to that platform conditional. We can run it on things like Android as well, and you'd see on everything else as the button content, right? And so along with that, we're going to jump back to desktop. We're going to jump back. Oh, no, we're going to jump back to desktop. And we're going to zhuzh up this sample because that's basically it for the sample. That's the tutorial. So we're going to add some cool stuff to it just for fun. So the first thing that I want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to manage the NuGet packages for this application. And I want this package. No, not installed. Browse. I want to install the, excuse me. Why is it not showing me the right one? Live charts. Live charts. Uh-oh.
I think your string is a bit too long. It contains too much.
Huh, interesting.
Probably copy-pasted too much.
Huh, okay. Let me find it. Live charts, live charts, live charts. I do not see it. What is happening? Oh, wait, did I choose solution? Yes, I did. Manage NuGet packages. There it is. I don't know. So we'll
It's a
add
pre-release
this
package.
charts.
That's why.
Oh,
You didn't have pre-release checked.
Yeah. Oh, Fail. Okay. So we have the live charts package here for Skia Sharp available to us. Well, it's using Skia Sharp to render. And so the whole name, if I put this a little bit bigger, is live chart Skia Sharp view Uno when UI. And so we're going to use that package and include it. Now we have to do a little bit of an extra step here because we're using C# as our program, as our UI language, right, for our markup. And this package for live charts comes with a lot of UI components that were originally built, to use within your XAML. And so they don't have to worry. So people that are packaging up components like that don't need to worry about, do they need to have a separate package that's specifically for the markup or anything like that. The only thing that you need to do within your consuming application, if you'd like to have a C# markup consuming these objects from your packages, is you can add this anywhere in your application, basically. But we want to have this ability to generate the markup for any assembly. So right now, I know that there's a Cartesian type that's within the live charts core assembly. So automatically generate the markup for that assembly. And that's all you have to do. Now you are able to use anything that is available as UI from that assembly with C# markup. And I'm missing some usings. So oh, and I didn't put it. I have to put it above the thing. Sorry. And this has to go. Well, now it added the usings for me because I didn't screw it up that time. So there you go. There we go. So there we go. Now we have the ability to use any of the UI components from live charts within our C# markup. And so we're going to have to make a few changes to our model. So I will go back to our model. Actually, I'll save. Well, we'll close. I'll save all this. And we will, actually, now that that's done, I will launch the desktop version again and get that going, just so we can have some nice hot reload goodness again. And here you go. And we'll go to our model. And what I want to do is actually change this countable model now, since we're going to have a little bit of extra logic to have some data binding to the charts that we're going to expose, right? And so the thing is, the main model stays the exact same. I don't do anything. I'm still exposing countable as a state, and we're still pushing an update to countable by calling increment on it. And the only thing is, now we're going to keep a history of every time I incremented the counter. We're going to keep a history of what that sum was of the current count plus step. We're going to keep a history of that and expose that as a series of counts, which is an I series, which is coming from live charts, right? So this is just a new public property that's going to be on our record, that's going to be observable and bindable, all thanks to MVUX, exposing this all through our immutable record, right, of countable. So all I have to do is expose it as this public property, right? There are probably nicer ways to do all this, but I just hacked this together quickly. And so the only other change is this increment method. And not only does it increment the count like it was doing before, but it updates or creates a new countable record, adding the new count to its list of count histories, right? And so if we save that, we will go here and we will do a small update to our UI, and right here below our image, let's say, we can add a new Cartesian chart. Oh, tab. And we can add a new Cartesian chart. Oop, I screwed something up. Hold on, edit code. Oh, pasted it twice. We can add a new Cartesian chart. That should be good. And if I save, we now have this chart that shows up on our application that gets nice hot reload, updates our UI, right? And if I increment by 10, say, and I increment, we'll see that the push to that state of that new counter record or countable record is being updated. and we will have automatic data binding and updates to the chart, and we can make a nice, it's supposed to be a triangle, but I clicked the button too many times. So we can do nice things like this too. So we can create a polar chart, and we can change this to a polar, not a lolar, a polar line series. It's all right. I screwed up again. Save all. I screwed up again. What did I do? Polar chart. That should have worked. I don't know. So we'll restart it. And we'll get this nice polar application, or sorry, polar chart available to you. And we can do cool things like, I don't understand how this chart works, but it's really cool. And again, we could do the same thing. And now we can make a little heart-shaped chart. So there you go. And you can get this running on other platforms as well, right? So we can have this available. I'll just close this. We can have this available running now, since Jerome was doing all the Linux goodness, right? We can also run this still using the Net 8 desktop target, but now using it targeting my Windows subsystem for Linux. And so we have this Linux application running within Windows right now, and you'll see that the Chrome around it looks a bit different because it's still using Skia for rendering, but it's using X11 as its background, as its like engine, basically to backend. Sorry, is what I'm trying to say. As it's using its backend for its Chrome and for displaying the application itself, and it works as you would expect, right? So you have all this available to you all across, and this works across all the platforms, all available to you. So yeah, that was just a fun little demo of showing different platforms, different stuff you can build with Uno. So,
this is amazing. Very cool demos, loving the fact that we can hot reload charts on different platforms. It's quite cool. So that's it for the Windows demos and C# markup and all the associated features. We're going to go now to Martin, who has some very cool windowing demos to show us.
Yeah, hello. Hopefully you are all enjoying this so far, as I am as well. So my demos will be focused on desktop and specifically windowing first. If you go back in time into the dawn of times, Uno platform was always like a single window framework. But now with 5.2, we have expanded the horizons to multiple windows, and we have now support for multi-window applications in all our desktop targets. It's Windows, Linux, and macOS. So I have this simple sample application. I will post links to everything I will be showing in the comment section, so you can also browse it. The sample will be open source in Uno samples repo, so you can find it there and play with it there as well. But to just explain, I think the links didn't show up probably because I'm not allowed to, but Jerome will post them later. So this sample application shows some of the windowing features and APIs that we added in 5.2. And I'm running this. As you can see, this is a weird window Chrome, as Steve mentioned. This is also WSL, so Linux application running in the Windows subsystem for Linux. So this is a Linux application. Linux target of Uno platform, and this application will showcase some of the windowing APIs. So let's first click on this button, which will show the second window. So there's a premiere showcase of second window in Uno platform. First time you ever see it probably. So this is side by side the main window for our application and the second window. And as you can see, they both run at the same time. And because they are both running on the same UI thread, you can even communicate between the windows quite easily without any problems with synchronization or you having to use dispatchers to do that and these things. So just to show you how that works, this super simple sample, I have the code right here, and it's very succinct actually. You first create an instance of the window, then you set up the UI for that window, and in my case it's a grid with some text block showing hello from second window, and finally you set the content of the window to the content property, and then finally you activate the window with the activate method. And that displays the window, and you can then manipulate it and display it in your app. So of course, this is very nice and relatively simple, but you might prefer to do that UI work in XAML. And you can, of course, do that. And you can do that because you can use custom window types. So you derive your own custom window from the window type. And an example of that is here in the custom window button. So if I click this, you can see it opened secondary window. I can open multiple of them even. So I have 4 windows open here, and I can show them side by side or close them as I need. And this window is no longer a basic window instance. It's actually a fully custom type that's deriving from window. And we can see it here. I have a window XAML file, a custom window.xaml file, and it has even custom window.xaml.cs code behind file. So it contains both XAML and code behind, and you can see it contains all the UI that I was displaying there, plus some code behind logic that takes care of incrementing the counter of the windows and generating that nice random color on the background. So this allows you to create custom versions of your windows and quite easily display custom UI on those windows as well. Just to preview that this is not just a Linux thing, I will now switch to Windows Target as well, so you can see the same thing happening there. So let me run the Windows Target, and the same exact application is now running on Windows. And I will show you the next sample there, which is window title, which is just a simple property, basically. You set window.title to some text, or you can even data bind it, as I did here, to the text of a text box. So I have two-way data binding. So if I type here in this, hello webinar, you can see it showing up here in the title bar of the window. So it's a two-way binding to the window title. And as part of this demo, I kind of secretively showed another announcement from 5.2, which is Skia native text box. Because this text box is no longer what we had before. We had kind of overlaid text box control from WPF or from GTK on top of the window so that we could allow some user input. Now it's completely native to Skia, and it's handling the native key events of the system that the application is running on. So it works on Windows, it works on Linux, it works on Mac OS, and it's all rendered using Skia, so it looks completely native, and the text looks the same as all the other content of your application. And it has all the features you would expect. So actually, I can switch here to my Czech language and say, ahoj z Česka. So it's our Czech language, and you can see even our weird accented characters are working correctly. So that's super cool because I'll have to have the support for IMEs built in, and you don't have to care about anything complicated. Plus, it also supports all of the text box features that you would expect. So if I write hello and right click, you can see the context menu that says select all. I can cut text, I can paste text. It's just like a native text box. It's just rendered using Skia. And I have to say kudos to my colleague Rames, who has implemented all this, and it works really amazingly. So really great work by Rames. All right, so that was a window title. Let's switch back to the samples here, and I will show you how you can make your window full screen. So if I click on this button, it opens a full screen window. It's kind of immersive. It covers the whole screen. I cannot see anything else now. And you can see there's no title bar as well. So it's really a full screen window. And it's super easy to do with the new APIs that we added in 5.2. I should probably mention that all of these APIs that I'm showing are based on WinApp SDK APIs. So it's the WinUI APIs. And it's the same exact namespaces, the same exact types, so the same exact methods that you would see in WinUI applications. So that's pretty cool that you don't have to learn anything if you already know WinUI. Let's see here. The full screen mode can be started by setting the presenter of the app window to be full screen. Just single line of code, but it makes your window run full screen. Very simple, very easy. And you can also see here, calling the close method on the window does exactly what you expect. It closes the window. So super simple API as well. All right, now let's see maximizing, minimizing. So this sample allows you to maximize the window, restore it back to windowed state, and then minimize it to the taskbar. So it's here. And again, super simple API. Let me see here. It's in this code behind file. You first grab the app window presenter, which is by default the overlapped presenter, which kind of allows windows to be overlapped in the desktop environment. And then you call the methods that you would expect. So minimize for minimizing, restore to restore the windowed state, and maximize to maximize the window. Super easy, nothing complicated, nothing you would have to learn. And it's just intuitive working with it. So finally, we have the ability to keep the window on top. So you can see this window now always stays on top. So even though I want to show you the code snippet, I cannot because it's there. So I have to shut it down, and I will show it here. So the overlap presenter comes again from app window, and you just set the is always on top property to true, and that's it. It just makes your window always on top, and you can use that for some data visualizations that you want the user always to see, for example. So very useful API, and it's now finally part of the of our API surface, and it's very easy to do without any platform specifics. And it works on Linux, it works on Windows, it works on Mac OS. So you have the full coverage of all the targets, and that's pretty fun, right? So, actually the sample, as I mentioned, is on GitHub. You can see the PR and you can play with it yourself if you want. But there is also windowing docs. Again, the link is in the comment section, and it contains all the links to windowing support, secondary windows, how you make your windows full screen, and everything there that is really important. So if you want to read more about how windowing is implemented, go there and you should see everything you need. And if you're missing something, let us know. We will add it. All right, so now let's actually, one thing that is quite important here, because windowing is a desktop specific thing. If you want to have a proper windowing API support, you really need also proper desktop support. So you need to work well on Windows, you need to work well on Linux, and you need to work well on Mac OS. And that's another topic that we have covered in 5.2. We have added this new target framework, which was already mentioned several times before. It's .NET 8 desktop, and it's a common target for all the desktop targets that we support. So even though you have one single assembly that's desktop, and you have one single file that's program CS that targets all the different desktop targets that we support, it's very simple now to target both all of Linux, Linux frame buffer, Mac OS, and Windows with just single assembly. So you can generate a single assembly that you then run on all the targets, and Uno will magically even figure out which target you are currently running on, and it will pick the right assemblies at the right Uno platform implementation, the right Uno platform backend to run your application on that specific runtime target. And these two, the X11 support and macOS support, are completely new as well. Again, kudos here for X11 implementation goes to Rames, who has implemented the whole thing himself. And for macOS to Sebastian, who has made this amazing macOS implementation. So amazing work by these guys. And thanks to them, we have now proper macOS and Linux support that is really feeling native and does not require any GTK magicry and any GTK issues that we had before. So it's very nice to have the native support for these targets. So let me now just show you one more thing here. As you can see, the program CS file includes this new Skia host builder type, which allows you to customize the desktop targets. And you can even decide that you don't want to support macOS. So if you don't want it, you just really delete it. And that makes your application support X11, Linux frame buffer, and Windows only, for example. So you can customize this. So if you don't want to support all of these targets, then you can remove them. But of course, why would you if you want to target everything with UNO platform, right? So this is the default, which includes all of the targets and makes your application run really everywhere. Okay, so I will run this application here on my desktop. Yeah, we look back here, and we should see it running in the Windows desktop target. Let me switch to light theme so you can see it better. The application is the gallery application that you know from our gallery.platform.uno website. But on this app, I would like to show you some additional things that are new in 5.2. Specifically, we have added the teaching tip control. If you click here on this button, you can see it shows up this nice teaching tip that you can use to explain some functionality of your application to the users or direct them to some docs, for example. So this teaching tip control is kind of a customized pop-up for app explanations or app guidance, basically. And it's very easy to implement. The XAML is quite simple, and you can provide your hero content, your own content for the teaching tip, and some title and subtitle. It's quite customizable. It can even contain buttons, so you can confirm or discard some actions, for example. So it's kind of an advanced control, and now it's part of UNO platform as well, and it's completely ported from WinUI. So it's exactly the same source code as in Windows. So everything you know from Windows will work here as well. All right, and finally, one additional UI feature I want to showcase here, and I have to make a shout out to our friend Ahmed Walid, who you might know from Twitter. He's always posting some crazy composition API samples, and he implemented complete support for acrylic brush in our Skia targets. So now we have acrylic brush, and it's not just any acrylic brush, it's the full acrylic brush support with tint opacity, tint luminosity opacity, and it's exactly the same as on Windows. It's exactly the same UI. So if you make your application run on Windows, you will see exactly the same UI on our Skia targets, which is pretty amazing and really amazing work that Ahmed has done here. And we are really thankful for that. So thank you very much, Ahmed, if you're watching. So final thing I want to show you, if I ask Jerome to switch me to my macOS
I would like to, but it's not appearing in my list. So if you can share it again, please.
I will share the screen again. Yeah, it went to sleep, so it's probably that's because. But let me show. Okay, so here is the same gallery application that you have just seen on Windows and on WSL, and it's now running on macOS natively. So it's a native macOS application, and it behaves exactly the same as you have seen on Windows, with all the transitions and all the features that you might expect. So this is the showcase of the macOS target as well.
Very nice.
So I think that's it.
That's a lot of cool demos that we have there. Very, very cool to see. Lots of good features from the whole team. It's I hope you're gonna all enjoy what Martin's just showed. So next we have Dominic that's gonna show us a little bit about Pong Wars. Dominic, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Martin and Jerome. Today we've seen how you can build great apps with UNO with MBUX and C# markup. But somebody from the chat asked, what about games? And I have something that I wanted to show you. We've actually went away and ported Pong Wars sample, which is a original HTML/JavaScript sample, and made it work inside UNO platform natively. So as you can see, we have the application here running and showing all the calculations of the balls and how it's colliding with the walls and the cells. And we can actually change the speed of the whole sample too. So we can see it slowly eating those neighboring cells. And if we speed it up, we can see that it goes really quickly and kind of eats away the whole thing, and it can also eat the other ball if one is too quick. So it's a great sample to showcase the performance of Uno and Skia rendering. So to show you how it actually works, we've went away and actually rebuilt the whole thing. So as you can see here, we start off with adding the balls to the whole board, and they have a random value, so it's not the same every time. And then we kind of fill out the whole board and go through the loop, which then handles the calculations, as you can see here, for all the balls and changing their directions. So it's quite complex code, but when we actually update the cells, it's thanks to MVUX, it's not updating the whole board. And as you can see here, we just call our game loop by the cells, and it actually automatically kind of calculates which of the cells were changed, and re-renders itself without needing to re-render the whole thing. So it's performant, and it can be redrawn quite fast, as you saw in my sample. And also the score updates automatically, as you saw in the bottom of the sample. The score is updated by just calling the get cell count, which is a simple method which I can show here. Let me actually search for it so it's easier. Yeah, here, sorry. So here it just calls the get cell count, and it through link it calculates the actual cells on the board and gets the player ID. So it's really easily counted from the whole game. And as just with few lines of MVUX, this all gets moved to C# markup, which then displays the whole application and renders the thing nicely, as you can see here. And it's all done not via Canvas, as maybe you could say that it could be done. It definitely could be, but we went a little further, and we've actually added our items repeater here, and it displays all the cells, so it's nicely visible. And just to show off that it really works on all platforms, I have a sample here. So I can show the Android version, and in a little bit, I can show something even more cooler. So if we can get this loaded, okay. Nice. So we have the same sample running on Android via emulator, and we can also play with the speed of the balls, and we can make it go really fast. So even on Android, it renders really fast. And what's more cool, that if I run this, it runs even on a watch. So it's really interesting. I hope you can see that. It just went away, but I hope you can see that it runs the same application even on watch. So it's really cool to see a game running quickly on every platform.
Show it again quickly. I'll put you on the...
Yes. Sorry, is it visible?
Yeah, it is a little bit, but it shows.
Yeah. You can later you can test it yourself, how it works and how it runs on your device. So thank you, and that's, I think, all from me.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Dominic. It's cool to see tech demos like this and showing C# markup like this for our users. Great. So next, in addition to the release, we have our partners from UX Divers from Uruguay and Implicita from the UK. We're building an application, a cross-platform application for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. And they released their application. They recorded a quick demo of their application, and well, let's hear from them. So, let me roll the video right away.
We are all set.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. First of all, we'd like to congratulate Uno on their amazing release, 5.2. Wow, what a game changer. True kind of single project, cross-platform development. Who thought that would ever be a thing, back in the day when I first got involved in Xamarin or whatever. So yeah, well done. And thank you for allowing us to participate in this webinar. We're super excited to tell you about the story of Guidle, an application that we've built for a client along with our good friends and partners, UX Divers. So my name is John Cattenhorn. I'm the CEO of the Implicita Group, and we're a Microsoft-focused technology company. So we do everything from IoT to cross-platform development, back-end stuff, gaming, you name it. We're probably involved in it if it's got Microsoft in it. Yeah, I'm joined here today by Pablo and Mauro from UX Divers. Guys, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Pablo from UX Divers, as John mentioned. And I don't know if you know our company or not, but we are primarily focused on the cross-platform production and the design of beautiful and usable apps in all the .NET ecosystem. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Mauro, do you want to go?
Okay, I'm Mauro. I work at UX Diver, and I'm the one who developed Guidle.
Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. So what the heck is Guidle? So Guidle is a revolutionary application. It's built across platform. We've built 4 apps in total, and it allows historians who want to bring history to life to produce audio-based content, which is geolocated and allows people to discover the world that they, probably walk around in all the time. So we were really excited when we saw this. Concept. It's a great idea, and we feel really privileged to have been able to bring it to life in conjunction with UX Divers. Okay, so how did we get here? How did we choose Uno? So we knew straight away from the brief that we got from the client that we needed to have 2 key use cases or cases, user stories for it. One was for the creators, so the people that actually create the content. Those people are primarily non-technical people, historians in the main, and we needed something that was super easy for them to use. So no, difficult to use kind of audio recording experience. It needed to be all very simple and kind of point and click, and they needed to stay in their comfort zone. So some of those people were devoted Mac users, some of those people were devoted Windows users, and we wanted to give them an experience that was very familiar to them. So we decided that we needed native applications both on the Mac and on the Windows machine. And then conversely, the consumers of these Guidles, as they're called, use their mobile phones. So it's designed to be used whilst out and about, looking at the world around them. So that really meant Android and iOS. So we come from a background in many years ago. We were very early adopters of Xamarin. In fact, that's how I got to know the UX Divers guys, because some of the early pioneering work that they did with Xamarin and the Graal kit, which we'll go into a little bit more later maybe. And we have been looking at all of the developments with all of the cross-platform environments, and looking at the direction they were going in, and we decided that after a sort of doing due consideration that we would build these applications with Uno. So we reached out to the UX Divers team, and we've been big admirers of their work, particularly around XAML, which is obviously where Uno, amongst others, I'd previously used the product that they produce called the Graal Kit, which helps you, for people that are not as skilled or as crafted as they are in user experiences, bring those experiences to life. We talked to them and introduced them to the concept. They loved it. Spent a fair bit of time with Pablo talking through different concepts and different ideas, and then you guys got to work with on the creative side, right? Do you want to say a few words about that?
Sure. As John mentioned, we took over on the creative side, and again, UX Divers is focused on trying to bring the best user experience and also the best user interface possible in this cross-platform realm. In this case, we are already working. We have been working with Uno for quite some time right now, and we love it. And at UX Divers we have like this strong focus on the design part. We do have a process that we follow, and it helps not only to deliver like good quality UX and UI applications, but also to be able to be all aligned in the same page when it comes to designing an application. And with that process, we avoid a lot of frictions, and we are able to identify problems way before they manifest in real life. So that accelerates the process even more. So yes, that's also with the Figma plugin from Uno. At the same time, while we are working on the design, this plugin and also the navigation navigation part, which is the navigation extension that allowed us to validate concepts like super fast right from the XAML without even touching a line of C#, which is great. Yes, that also helps a lot.
Customer really appreciate that. Yes. Being able to, when you're talking to non-technical people and you're anything it really brings it to life. Even static, well-drawn images, high def, whatever, wireframes, you can't quite get the customer's imagination around that until they see like the way the application flows. You talk about it a lot with user experience, right? So from my perspective, engaging with our customer and seeing them give them feedback to you from seeing the prototype that was powered by the Figma was really powerful. It was, from that perspective, the much sort of easier process than we've experienced before, for sure.
Yes, that's been great, and I think that's one of the things that we put a lot of love on that part. I mean, in bringing like the best user experience and user interfaces possible. And with this process and with the addition of having this great tool, this great plugin for Figma and the navigation extension, that's a great combination for that.
It's pretty awesome. Right, should we show the folks enough talking and show them the app?
Sure.
Okay, well, take it away. What are you going to show us first? This is the creator app, right?
Exactly. This is the Kaitel CMS, the content creator system. Here is where the content creators can create the tours and the guides. So we are going to show here some of the main features of the app.
And this is the version running on Windows, right?
Yes, exactly. This is running on Windows. This is available for Windows and for Mac and desktop. Okay. Well, here we have two of the main components of the app, where you can see the map and the audio player. So okay, here what we have is a list of guidels, which are a combination of audio and position. So here we're gonna create one just for testing purposes. You are able to record audio also, or upload an existing one.
It's kind of turned out that we've had a split in of people, right? Some people use the record functionality like natively, and then other people have got pre-recorded material who they upload, right? So yeah, it's good that they can do either.
Exactly.
Yeah. The main point here was trying to like doing this process simple as possible.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Great. So there's not much work here to show. Let's go to the mobile app now, which is right here. This is running directly on the production version. This is the one that you download from the stores. So, well, you already see that there's a lot of content added by the content creators already.
Yeah, the take-up's been amazing, right? It's yeah, and we've been really surprised. Do you remember how long this has now been officially released? And it's not been very long, right? 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes,
yeah, less than a month, I think.
Yeah, less than a month, right? And yeah, I was looking at the weekend. I was blown away by the quality and the diversity of the content that's already been created. It's really cool.
It's really great. Exactly. So you can access the guidels just by checking the recommended list, searching by text, or you can see the map where you can see the location of each guidel.
Cool. So you can think about it in either where you are standing. I mean, I think one of the conversations me and you had, Pablo, was like 2 use cases of some people that go somewhere and then kind of like ad hoc, oh, I wonder if there's something interesting at this place. So, you know, you're kind of at your location. And then another group of people who already know that they're going to go out on a trip today or next weekend or whatever, and they sort of do some planning around, you know, particular locations. And I think you guys have done a fantastic job of sort of spanning those two sort of usage scenarios, you know, in terms of like people who plan up front and people who just arrive at a place and like, hey, what's interesting here? You know, I think it's really good.
Yes. That's looking fantastic for me. I mean, it's the version 1, right? And it's already
for sure.
Has a lot of content.
Yeah, I mean that's something else that has been really good. I mean the way that Uno allows you to like lay out separation of code, and you know we've obviously got a plethora of engineers who worked on the back end and UX divers who worked on the front end, and a bit of both in the middle in terms of you know publishing to the stores and stuff. But we've got really clean code quality, and it's a common mistake I think where people like see the word MVP and they mean you know poor quality code or whatever. You know, like MVP just means the smallest amounts of features, but the code quality is still very high, right? And the Uno and the way that Uno lays out leads you down the road of the patterns that you can follow for, you know, single responsibility principles and stuff means that, you know, there'll be no throwing away of, you know, as this thing gets developed, we'll just be able to extend what's already there, which again is another great feature of, you know, not only .NET, but you know, the way that Uno works as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty cool, guys. Yes.
Yeah.
So get the app, try it, see it for yourself.
Yeah,
I think
definitely. I've got the URL here as well as a shameless plug, which is www.guidel, which is GUIDL.tours. If you go to their site, you'll be go to some buttons that'll take you to the App Store if you want to, and there's a sign up process if you want to be a creator as well. But I've got one more thing to sort of personal shout out, I suppose, which is to Francois and to Jerome and their team. You know, we were I'd say bleeding edge, but we were pretty close to the front of what people have done in terms of the breadth and simultaneous releasing on multiple platforms and stuff. And, you know, we had a few, you know, issues where we needed to, you know, expand our knowledge in terms of GitHub issues or get some, you know, fixes. And the community, both the community and the Uno guys were first class. I mean, we were, as fast as we could log them, they were either telling us what we've needed to do, or they were, you know, releasing patches and stuff. So again, big thanks to you guys for that. You know, we really felt supported by the whole community and the whole kind of Uno organization. So we couldn't have done this without you. We hope you have a fantastic rest of the webinar, depending on where we are in the pecking order, because we're recording this ahead of time. But yeah, if you need some help or you need some independent consultancy around anything you've seen today, feel free to reach out to Pablo or myself. We'd be only too happy to hear about what you're building or what you want to build, and you know, help you do that in Uno. All right. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
And goodbye.
Thank you guys.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that was an amazing story. Thanks, guys, for sharing it. It's very nice to see live applications running, and you know, all the stories that we've seen that people have been showing recently. You know, we'd love to showcase your app. So if you're having an app that's running in production, we have an application that was shown recently with a Raspberry Pi demo in a factory. That was super cool to see. So keep sending them. We definitely love showing more of that. And we definitely enjoy showing all of you all that we've done for the 5.2 release. We're a bit out of time, so we have the questions that we have logged. We'll probably answer them in a different setting. What we've seen is our biggest release yet, with lots of improvements with developer experience with .NET, and we encourage you to go to our Getting Started, to visit our platform Uno website, to go on Discord to discuss with us directly. We have our own server now, and of course open discussions on GitHub, or clone the repo and contribute. So that's it. Thanks all three of you for all the cool demos, and we hope to see all of you viewers next time for our next release. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Have
Thank
a great
you.
day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.